Hey there, welcome to our football show. I'm Chris Pugh, editor of Mahoney Matters, and I've got our, uh, I guess we could say it's our favorite Canton repository sports writer. I think it's fair to say, Pierre Holland. How you doing, Pierre?
I'm doing well. I don't know if I'm a favorite, but I'm definitely the only one, I guess. Oh,
Right.
we have other
Well, well,
guys.
well, just don't take this podcast like Mike Popovich or Steve Dorshik, or they may come after me. They're like, well, why are we the favorite? But you come on this podcast, so thank you, Pierre. I appreciate it.
Hmm.
Our apologies for last week. I was traveling for work. I was in Warren, and the place to stay I had crappy internet. I thought we could tape a show. We're just not going to release it. It's just the audio wasn't that good, but we're going to make up for it this week. Man, as always, NFL. It's never boring, Peter. So much stuff we could talk about, in terms of the, transactions. The free agents are still out there, but what story meant the most? I guess maybe right now, what story in the NFL, either a transaction or a pending transaction, what are you looking at the most? What's got your attention as things continue to develop?
Um, I guess the off-season goals is we are still in the Lamar Jackson watch and the Aaron Rodgers watch. Those two guys are still, I guess you can say they're still out there. Or more like there hasn't really been any progress of them being traded anywhere. The fact that they're still and still with their original team is remarkable. I mean, for different reasons, obviously. Is I think that's probably the biggest story of the offseason so far is Lamar Jackson and Brett Favre. Well, I mean, that said Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. If um, Are we going to see Aaron Rodgers go to the Jets as we expect him to be? And what's going to take? And with Lamar Jackson, is Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson where is he going to lane to? I mean, a lot of teams are ruled him out, are out of pursuing him. So there's just a lot of things that is transpiring as far as to the point where I think Lamar Jackson is better off just staying put and just go another year and go with that franchise deal and just go another year and just hope that he can play an MVP type season again. So those, I guess you can say, are the storylines.
I'm looking at ESPN now. There's a story from the Ravens GM. I guess he was quoted today, Eric DaCosta, saying, "Hey, maybe we'll take a quarterback in the first round." The ESPN writer Jameson Hensley kind of poured some cold water on it. Ravens pick 22. Your top four quarterbacks should be gone by then. And man, Hendon Hooker, who a lot of people like, I think he got downgraded a little bit because of his injury, but he's out there. I'm seeing Hendon Hooker could go as high as 13. So I'm not sure if the Ravens could pull off a deal like that. But what do you think about this? Hearing some speculation, I don't think it's a legitimate rumor, but why don't the Ravens trade Lamar Jackson to Indy for the number four pick? Indy will get their quarterback in Jackson. The Ravens, I mean, that might be a spot where Anthony Richardson goes. It only makes too much sense. I guess when it makes sense, it probably won't happen. What's your thought about something like that maybe happening?
Well, Indy has to agree upon it for once. I don't know if I don't know if Indy has really been on Lamar Jackson's radar. Um, I don't see why they couldn't if they want to be competitive or they just want to rebuild with the quarterback of their own. And because they've been looking very thoroughly with the four quarterbacks, so um, it really depends. I don't know if they. So that just really just depends on what the culture thinking. I don't know if they are. I'm not really sure if they want to pursue or let alone paying the amount of money that Lamar Jackson is asking for, and are just better off just wanting to just look at the quarterbacks they have in the draft. If the Ravens want to get in the mix of that, obviously you're going to have to give away. you're not only just have to give away Lamar Jackson, but you also got to give away draft picks. So you got to have to give up a whole house. And I don't know if teams in that top five or in the mix of quarterback are going to take that route. And then you have to pay Lamar Jackson. So those are just key factors that come into play. It may seem easy just on personnel, but there's a lot of things that you're going to have to give away just to get Lamar Jackson if he's worth it.
How does that work with the tag? Because technically there's like a 2 first round pick spot that goes into it. Say a team like Indianapolis says, hey, we're going to make an offer, and Baltimore's like, cool, let's do it. Does it have to be at least 2 first round picks, or if the two teams agree on something, they can agree on whatever, right?
It's an exclusive tag. So for an exclusive tag, at this point right now, you can negotiate you can talk to other teams now, and if they offer you, it's the Baltimore Ravens' job to match that. And if they're not able to match that, then they can work on a trade deal to see what they can get for Lamar Jackson. That's just pretty much what it is. And if they can't get anything, then Lamar Jackson is stuck there for another year.
So it's got to go in that way. It's not like a team could just say, hey, we'll give you this for Lamar, and the other team says, yeah, it's got to go for the contract with the tag, right?
Basically,
okay.
You just got you could. It's just another part of the negotiating factor where Lamar can keep his options open, but unless the teams are interested in talking to him, you got to run by with the Baltimore Ravens as well, where they have to match that offer.
Yeah, it's interesting. Back to what you're saying about the draft picks. Anthony Richardson, he had a great combine that really shot him up the charts. I'm liking, because I think you were high on Hendon Hooker too before he got hurt. I like how Hooker's now shooting up the draft charts too. I mean, assuming he's healthy, he's pretty good. I think he's like 25. He's a little bit older than the other quarterbacks. But that said, Hooker's got a lot going for him.
Yeah, Hooker had a remarkable year before he went down. So it's great. It's great to see he is trending right now. After his 1 year, after a couple years at Tennessee. So it wouldn't surprise me if he is getting more teams looking at him. And I think he needs to go to a right situation where they don't have to rush him. He can just simply sit out for like 1 year. Getting acquainted with the favorite, kind of like with the Patrick Mahomes factor or with the Lamar Jackson factor, where they would pretty much sit out the entire season, just develop him, and you play behind a veteran quarterback, and Lord behold, you just hope that he turns into the quarterback that you expect him to be the following year. So I think that could be beneficial for guys like Hendon Hooker. So I can definitely see him land somewhere in the late first round, depending on the team, or probably in the early second round at best.
Yeah, I heard some talk, and we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers in a second. I heard some talk that if things go south with the Jets talking to Aaron Rodgers, do you maybe, like some people ESPN are speculating Hooker could even go as high as maybe 13 to the Jets. I guess the thing I wonder about that is, I think unless you really think Hooker can start right away, the Jets, Rodgers or no Rodgers, are close to the playoffs. I'm not sure if they want to take a chance on quarterback in the first round, but wherever he ends up, I'm seeing a lot more speculation about Hooker being the first round than I ever have in the past, and good for him.
We'll see where he lands. It really just depends on the team. If they gotta really love him to a point where they want to groom him and develop him into a developmental quarterback. But he's gonna be in that learning curve, kind of the same way with Anthony Richardson. So this will definitely be interesting where he lands.
All right, and we're taping this April 5th. I always have this fear that we release on April 6th, and some of these things are resolved by then. But as of April 5th, very little updates on the Aaron Rodgers front. I mean, you're not even seeing some of the speculation as much. So, I mean, I'm thinking that, obviously it seems like there's a hang up on the trade compensation. Um, I've heard some speculation, you're looking maybe at 2 second-round picks, and depending on how long Aaron Rodgers stays with the Jets or how well he does, maybe a pick will go a little higher or a little bit lower. But really, that was speculation. There really wasn't any guaranteed stuff on it. But I did hear some more talk on ESPN over the weekend saying, look, we've heard nothing. A trade hasn't happened. They were speculating, Aaron Rodgers says he wants to play for the Jets, but if another team is looking at it and they see no trade happening, I'm wondering, is anybody else calling Green Bay to say, hey, this deal hasn't happened. Can we hop in and try and make the trade? ESPN was speculating maybe that's a result of this thing dragging out a little bit.
But why would they? What's the point?
Well, here's what I think we've talked about this before. You haven't agreed with me, but let me pitch this to you again. I'm San Francisco, okay? Brock Purdy led me a ways last year. You got Trey Lance, assuming he's healthy. Trey Lance is still a good player, but San Francisco, they got a lot of high paid guys. They may not be able to keep everyone for a long time because looking at their salaries. Why don't you just say screw it, go for it? And if Aaron Rodgers gives you another good year or two, man, maybe you get 2 Super Bowl rings in the next 2 years. I mean, as long as you don't have to disband the team, trade draft picks, I don't know. I mean, I can see. I don't know if the Packers are going to trade him to an NFC team, but if they could get talked into it, I can see San Francisco being a landing place. I'm not sure if you're going to agree with that, but
I think the problem is that it's the compensation. I don't know what the Jets want. Just to make I think the better question is, I don't know what the Green Bay Packers want out of this conversation in exchange for Aaron Rodgers. That's what is holding his up in the first place. And I don't know if any teams will even touch that or even want to deal with that. Even with Aaron Rodgers at 38 years old. I mean, I'm sure he'll do great, even at his age. But you're probably better off just pursuing Lamar Jackson if that's the case, just because he's younger and he's in his prime. While Aaron Rodgers, he's still a great quarterback. He's still an all-pro, but he's descending. We don't know what we're going to get. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to even look far ahead as far as we know. It's either I don't think there's really not a ton of option. At this point when it's draft day, it's better. I mean, we're getting closer to the draft. I don't think any teams are even thinking about Aaron Rodgers as of right now. I think they're just thinking about who they're looking at in the draft.
Well, I heard some other talk too, saying that if you trade Aaron Rodgers, it would cost you. I think that dead cap money would have to come this year. If some way you could trade him after June 1st, you could spread that dead cap money over. I heard maybe 2 years, maybe it's as much as. Well, I think he's got 2 years left on his contract, so you could spread it over the 2 years, which would help. I mean, his dead cap money is going to be huge. But then on the other hand, if I'm the Packers, I'm saying, okay, what draft picks can I get back for him? I'd rather have this draft picks before this year's draft than waiting for a future draft too. So it's a hard choice to know what's best for the Packers here.
Well, at the end of the day, the Packers still have the leverage. They have all the leverage in the world because they got the winning prize. If you want Aaron Rodgers, let's make a deal. And if they're not going to go by the terms, then there's Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to be there, and the Packers don't want him here, but they still are in control because they want to get the picks that they want, because that could be a major factor because one of them can lead to their next coming quarterback of the future, or if they are not really sold on Jordan Love. But yeah, it's just for Aaron Rodgers is either he's a Jet or he's retiring at this point. Because man literally just said that he was like 90% sure that he was going to retire until this thing came up. So at the end of the day, we don't know what's going to transpire. We can look at scenarios, we can look at situations. By the end of the day, man, Aaron Rodgers got to do what's best for Aaron Rodgers, and the Jets and Packers, as we know, are still negotiating. It's kind of like a war. Why you have war? It's because you're negotiating. So they're gonna have to figure it out. I think they're eventually gonna figure it out. So we'll see what happens.
Hey, and we love this in the media for a small podcast like ours or for ESPN. Hey, it gives us more stuff to talk about. I'm sure some people in the media say, "Man, hopefully this never gets done," so they can always talk about this, for the next few months.
I'm kind of over it, to be honest with you. I just wanted to be done and over with, so we can move on with our lives. That's just me.
Or here's what we could do. I know this will never happen, but let's trade Aaron Rodgers for Lamar Jackson, so both of these sagas can be over at the same time. That'd be great.
That'll be a bonus. I wish that could happen too. Yeah. I'm just over it. Everybody's over it. Everyone just wants to see it done and over with. We're just waiting for that Adam Schefter breaking news or the Ian Rappaport breaking news, and we see the conversation or the trade and just get it over with.
Well, the good thing, draft's April 29th, right? That's what I see. So I mean, we're taping this April 5th. We got 3 weeks till the draft. Mm-hmm. It's not too far away. I mean, hopefully, when the draft comes sooner, we can focus more on the draft and less on the saga of, Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm. We'll see.
Yeah, let's see what else is going on. ESPN, not much, too much great. It was interesting in the draft, and you'll talk about defense lineman a little bit later. Interesting, Jalen Carter, he came out. His agent said, look, we're only going to visit top 10 teams. It seems like it might be a little ambitious considering some of the trouble he's been recently. But, man, I can see Jalen Carter going either 9 to Chicago or 10 to Philadelphia, where I don't think he's going to get past that. So maybe that's not as big of a deal as some people are making this out to be.
It's really not. You can't fall for the guy that he knows that he's a top 5 pick or top 10 pick. He knows going to be a top 10 pick, so you can definitely understand where he's coming from. I think what's really going to be effective is what about the teams that want to trade for you? Oh, so that's probably the biggest knock on him. There might be a team that's probably in the teens or in the 20s that are high on you, that they want to pursue you, that they think you're worth being picked, that you can make a difference on your defensive front. They want, and they're thinking about trading for you. Why not? So, I think it's understandable that he's confident that any of those top 10 teams are interested, but I don't think you can't rule out the other teams that are not in the top 10. But if everything goes right, that they shouldn't be a reason that they can trade for you. So that's probably the only knock on Jalen Carter that could. I wouldn't say that will hurt him, but that was something that I would try not to rule out either.
Steelers have a variety of needs, but it's interesting. Their GM, I don't see Jalen Carter lasting until 17, but their GMs come out and be like, hey, there's a guy we like, we'll trade up. And I think a lot of GMs are saying that, but some people are wondering, saying, hey, maybe the Steelers will trade up if somebody's there. And, I know that they've been interested in Jalen Carter, so that might be a team that tries to get to 9 or 10 if Carter's still there at that time.
I guess. I mean, do you think the Steelers really need a D tackle or something that they can get in the first round?
They picked a guy from the Chargers who's okay. I've heard he's like a 2-down guy. I mean, they're high on DeMarvin Leal. They got him last year. When he's healthy, he's pretty good, but he's not really healthy a lot. Hampton. Oh, geez. Hayward. Cam Hayward is still playing at a high level. I think he's 33 now. You kind of wonder how long that's going to continue. I mean, defensive line's not their biggest need, in my opinion. But, they could use it getting a little bit younger. I think the problem with the Steelers, I mean, you got needs at cornerback. You got needs at I still think they could use another linebacker. And you got defensive line, offensive line. They could probably use another receiver. And when you're identifying 6 different spots for needs, you know it. If you try to trade up, you're going to lose your extra draft pick. So I think they got too many needs to trade up, in my opinion.
I think they should stay where they are and draft the best corner available.
Or even trade down a few spots and get another pick or two.
I'll probably just stay where I'm at because that could really get you someone like Joey Porter who might be out there. So
yeah, and the Steelers have been in this spot a couple times recently, and usually somebody falls. I mean, I can't tell you who's going to fall, but usually a guy that when we look at the drafts and we say, "Oh, this guy's going to go above 17." Usually one of those guys falls. NFL doesn't always fall in mock drafts, so yeah, hopefully a decent guy falls to them. I'm looking around some of this news. Anything else jump out to you? I mean, there's other stuff going on. I'm not sure if there's anything worth talking about before we get to the draft.
I mean, this is what we talked about this last week, despite the bad connections, but but I don't know if I really got a good response out of you about the rule changes that we're going to do with this year.
Let's talk about that. Remind me of the rule changes. I'll give you my input and tell me if I'm right or
wrong. Probably the couple things that stood out. You can wear the number 0 now. The number 0, that could be your jersey number if that's an option for the player. And owners approved of having 2 Thursday night football games instead of 1. So those are the 2 that kind of stand out with me.
I mean, on the jersey numbers, I'm getting a little bit older. I used to remember a time where 50s were linebackers and 80s were receivers and everything. I gotta admit, the first year when they let guys wear different numbers, it was kind of weird. I'm used to it. That's what college football is all about. I don't know. Is there a good argument against wearing numbers like 0 or like a quarterback wearing a different number or a receiver?
It really depends on the position, to be honest with you. I don't know if you'll see a quarterback wearing number 0. I don't know if you'll see you're definitely not gonna see a lineman getting number 0. Is definitely a skilled player. And you probably might be a legit player who probably doesn't really or might not have the interested in numbers or really think that you're that guy where you want to wear number 0. So, if you have that single digit number, then you must be the real deal. So that's how I would look at it. So I don't know if there's any knock on whether or not they want to use. I don't think there's any kind of justification whether or not it's a good or a bad thing about wearing number 0. But it's definitely good that players are now getting to have access to it.
Yeah, and people will complain about the numbers. I mean, it's they're the old man, get off my lawn type guy. I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, there was an argument made in the past saying it's easier to tell which position is which for referees when you assign a position a certain number. But hey, it's 2023. Be individual. The only thing I don't like, Peter, is in college where you might see 2 different guys wearing number 20 or something. Hey, as long as everyone gets a different number, I'm good with guys wearing whatever they want to wear. So 0 is fine. Even somebody want to be double 0. I mean, whatever. I mean, I think it's okay.
Yeah, it doesn't really bother me as much if is that their number or that's what they want to go with. And I don't really see why people are complaining about it in the first place, to be honest.
On the Thursday night football games, I don't like them, but I've come to a understanding. I don't like. I know it always happens on Thanksgiving Day games but that happens once a year in the old days. I don't think the Thursday night games are the best well played. For the most part, they really have been exciting to watch, and you know, I know they're talking about potentially allowing flex games on Thursday, and we'll see what happens there. I don't think they're the best scheduled games. I think guys get hurt a little bit more in it, but then I understand, Peter, what it's about for the NFL. It's money. You know what I mean? If somebody's willing to pay you $1 billion for that contract, why not play games on Thursday night? I don't have to like them, but I think money matters more than what Chris Pugh out there says.
Yeah, it's obviously beneficial for the brand, but not necessarily beneficial for the players. Um, obviously, there's gonna be obviously it's a money grabber. Uh, I think they're trying to continue to build out the partnership with Amazon. So obviously they want to have more games on the Thursday night just because it's working for them. But yeah, just from the player side, it's obviously gonna be a pain in the butt for them, knowing that especially midway, having because a lot of players are gonna are hurt. Preparation is gonna be a pain as well. I think I saw George Kittle was talking about his experience playing on Thursday night, and he compared himself to a car crash, basically,
Yeah.
saying that um, his football. Basically, he just said every day it's like a car crash to him because you never know what's going to happen, and you're going to get breakdown all the time just because, especially on the Thursday night when you have to change your schedule, you got to change your routine, you got your short short week for preparing for a team, and then even when after the game, when you have those days off, there's a lot of good time you got to have to be treated. So you there's just a lot of things that goes in from a player's perspective that doesn't really seem unfair to them that they have to continue to force themselves to play on a Thursday night where they know that there's just another way of getting themselves hurt and knowing that it's not beneficial to them.
Yeah, and I would even say some of the players get upset about that. Once you hear about the money, I think the NFL is still in a 50-50 split between owners and players. So if you think about it, if they get $1 billion more dollars, if it's on a Thursday night deal or streaming or whatever the case might be, that's $500 million for players to split up. And I know players are so concerned about injuries and they should be and everything, but they might suggest that, hey, if there's more money, hey, it's worth it. I don't like some of the new things, like even the 17-game season. I'm not super crazy about that. I kind of like the nice even number. The 16-game season was a lot better. But again, hey, if you're paying me more money, like if we, we're journalists. If we go into work next day and say we're going to change this fundamentally, you might get freaked out first. But then if they say, hey, it's going to mean that we could double your salary, you're going to be like, hey, it sucks, but I'll do it. It's worth it. You know what I mean? I think sometimes the players are like that, where I think to a man, I don't think anybody's happy about Thursday night games or playing 17 games. But if you get paid more money, you sit there and say, hey, if I can get more money, it stinks, but it's worth it.
I guess that's one way of looking at it. I don't know if that comes into mind. So at the end of the day, you still have to play. I don't even think you're going to have to play the factor that they're paying you or they're going to pay you double. You still got to play regardless because you don't want to miss the game and end up getting fined. Yeah, so you're going to have to play regardless, even if they don't like it. It's their job. So I'm not saying that I was supposed to feel bad for them, but it's just a more of it's still not necessarily fair for the players just having to excuse me had to play on a Thursday day knowing that it might just affect them, especially for the players that are dealing with injuries early on.
I heard this crazy speculation, and I think it was just probably speculation for a writer who was just writing a column. But they're saying, like, if they ever got to 18 games or higher in the NFL season, what you should do is make each player and each team sit out 2 games. So it becomes like part of your strategy. So if you're like Pat Mahomes and you had to sit out 2 games of the 18, okay, you're probably not playing in the game against the worst opponent, whatever the case might be. But it could be a strategy. I mean, that's not going to happen either. But it was just kind of fun to think about that.
Yeah, then I don't know. I don't really have that much to say about that, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, there's a million reasons why it's a horrible idea. Especially say your kid's a huge Chiefs fan, and all right, I'm going to take my kid to the game, and the day that you take your kid, Pat Mahomes sits out, so now your kid, who might be a big Pat Mahomes fan, has to watch a backup. That's why it'll never happen.
That's really not good for business either. So
Oh yeah.
There's really nothing to discuss there.
Well, and the NBA's fighting that when some guys, sit out to rest, but then some fans are like, man, I don't get to see my favorite guy play.
This ain't the NBA, man. It's not like they're playing back-to-back games.
Yeah, that's true. And that's the one. I'll tell you, Pierre. That's why I like the NFL. I like the once-a-week thing where the game happens. You can kind of talk about for the week. You can poke fun at friends if your team wins or loses or whatever. I like that. I don't like as much the basketball and baseball where you're playing back-to-back nights. One night you're happy with how your team did, the next night you might be bummed out. I like it where you can be either really happy or really bummed out for a whole week. I like that feeling.
Yeah, I agree. I do like it once a week too, and it's something to look forward to as well on the weekends. So I'm definitely agree with you on that as well.
That's why you'll play on Thursday. Let's wait for the weekend. Not Thursday night, and we have to go to work early the next day. That's not good. So, all right. Well, hey, we've got about 20 minutes or so left. So let's get through. Like I said, last week the audio wasn't great. So we're not publishing that. But I want Peter to go back over his pick for edge rushers, and then he's going to also talk about inside, defensive linemen. Your nose tackles, defensive tackles, stuff like that.
It's just going to be a whole defensive line in general. So
sounds good. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Get my list together. My number five. I will start with. This guy has been a hot name so far. And probably one of my favorites. It's his name is he has a funny name. He plays in Northwestern. He goes by name Adid Tomwa Adedebore. I think that's how you say his name.
Okay.
6'2", 282. He had a great performance at the combine where he ran a 4.49 as his official 40 time. Can you name a 282-pound defensive lineman running a 4.49? And that is
hard to think of one. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Guy in his size. He's a 2-time All Big Ten. 93 tackles, 12 and a half sacks in his career. Just last year, he had 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 38 tackles. He's definitely gained some interest from NFL teams just after his combine, and probably put a similar amount of performance in his pro day. I think he's the guy who made a lot of money, who was going to find his way somewhere late in the first round. My number 4 is Brian Breesy is an interesting guy. Brian Breesy from Clemson, 6'5", 298. He was at one point, he was considered as the top 10 pick, but his stock's been up and down. But one thing that you cannot deny that is his film. 6'5", 298, 51 tackles, 5 sacks in his career. He made second team all ACC. So I think Brian Breesy, wherever he lands, I think he'll fit perfectly in a 3-4 scheme as a 3-4 defensive end. Just because of his size and his capabilities as a disruptor and a run stopper. So that's the guy I'll definitely be on the lookout for. My number three is Lucas Van Ness, from Iowa. Can you believe this guy has not started at Iowa? Can you believe that? But yet he's still able to rack up 36 tackles and 6.5 sacks is as a rotational player. I think what's great about with Lucas is his upside that really stands out to him. Size, speed, power, you name it, he has it. And he's a guy that you can groom into him being that starting caliber defensive end. That's a guy to look out for is Lucas Van Ness. My number two is Will Anderson. No, my number two is Jalen Carter from Georgia. We were just talking about him. Jalen Carter is pretty much the complete player that you want as far as defensive line. Despite his his situations with them, the storylines with them, with him, um, the character issues, the him getting arrested on reckless driving, stuff like that, and also now just visiting top 10 teams. You know, we don't know where he could land, but I think he'll find somewhere in the top 10. But as far as the football player, he's the best. He's the best out there. That's for sure. And my number one is Will Anderson. I think Will Anderson, wherever he lands, I think he's a double-digit sack player waiting to happen. I think he's an All-Pro player waiting to happen. He's the complete guy. He was at one point he was considered as the number one overall pick. So he's definitely the guy that wherever he lands, I think he has All-Pro type of talent. So those are my top five defensive linemen.
Very good. With Will Anderson, and obviously teams are going to draft based on what they need, and if you need a quarterback, sometimes that gets higher priority. But would you agree that, to me, I think Will Anderson is the best bet to do well? Like if you just draft based on, hey, I want a guy that I think is going to be good, I think Will Anderson might be the safest bet to be good in this year's draft. Is that saying
He's
too much?
def-
Agree.
I think he's the safest. I think whoever takes him, someone who needs of a defensive playmaker who can get to the quarterback, he's your safe bet. Just because he has played at a high level at Alabama, um, multiple double digit sacks, All American. He's definitely he's definitely the guy that you will definitely feel confident enough where wherever you put him in defensive scheme that he is going to make an impact right away.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see how he does, and I like it. Like I said, some doubts being placed in my mind with some recent stuff, but I'm high on Jalen Carter too, and hopefully Jalen Carter can get past the stuff he's through now. I think he's got a potential to be really, really good in the pros too.
Yeah, if he's able to keep his nose clean, I expect Jalen Carter to definitely do pretty well too.
I'm seeing some apt comparisons to Aaron Donald. Is that too crazy, or you see that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm not really into the player comparison. It's let's just see what he can do, man, before we even jump into that comparisons. But um, Jalen Carter definitely has traits where he's a ultimate run stopper. He's really good with his hands. He's strong. He's powerful. He's an offensive lineman's nightmare. So you don't want him on the backfield, that's for sure. He's just hard to block. So um, he definitely got all the traits of it, whether it's an Aaron Donald or Dominican Sue or any other elite defensive tackles you could think of in the past. So I even saw him. He remind him of, I think another former player, Ron Jerome. I think some of his name,
Okay.
something like that. that's as far as it goes, as far as comparison wise. But I, Jalen Carter is just Jalen Carter, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think he will. We'll just see if he's worth all the troubles. Um,
Well,
but
good.
I think he is.
I was going to say good point. You made me laugh because I was fortunate enough to interview a former Steeler and ESPN's Brian Clark last year before the draft, and one of the guys I really liked was Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame. His range and everything, the safety for Notre Dame last year, ended up being drafted by the Ravens, and I was like, man, I see a little bit of Troy Polamalu in, um, you know, with the guy from Notre Dame, and yeah, Ryan Clark shot me down. He's like, you can't make that comparison. Let him play first, figure out how he does before we make any comparisons like that.
Yeah, the thing about with player comparison, I think you just look at the look of the player more than just looking how he performs, because sometimes that could be very Kyle Hamilton is nowhere near a Troy Polamalu type player. That never even crossed my mind, to be honest with you. But it's yeah, even Anthony Richardson, people were comparing him to Cam Newton when we know for a fact that those are two different type of quarterbacks. They just look
Yeah,
at
it's
the
like two
size.
different
It's like
body
okay,
types too.
they just look at the size and his measurements,
Yeah.
and they just see the traits, and understandably so. But we're talking about two different style quarterbacks. That you can say the same for any player for that position. That's why it's it's too easy just to compare to one player to another to a current player, but um, it just really doesn't do the rookie any justice because we really don't know what we're going to expect from him.
Yeah, I saw Cam Newton was throwing at the Auburn Pro Day. He wants back in. He says there's not 31 quarterbacks better than me. He thinks he should be in the starting carousel somewhere.
Um, I
See,
think I
oh, you go ahead. Sorry.
okay. I think at least deserves another shot to at least compete for the backup role. At this point, as far as a starter, nah, I, 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 I really don't see this at this point for Cam. I just think he's just gonna end up being that emergency type quarterback. Where if a player goes down, he can pretty much just step in. Um, Pro day is cool and all, but I don't know. It really does accomplish that much other than you can throw it through air, and but I think Cam do deserve another shot. I think he definitely get another chance just to at least show whatever he got left in the tank. But at this point in his career, I think he's just good enough to be a backup.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there's a definite need for backups in the NFL. I would imagine if Newton's walking around thinking he can start, what he'll probably do is just sit on the sidelines and wait for injury to happen, then pitch whatever team with injury saying, hey, bring me in so I can start for you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I could definitely see Cam gets a second chance somewhere, but I just don't know when will it happen. I think it's gonna take a time. Probably might be after during the post draft or maybe late in during training camp if they need a body. I think that's probably it's gonna be as good as it get for Cam.
Yeah, tough time with the Patriots. I think that's kind of hurt his stock a little bit. All right, well, we're about to end. Pierre, tell me what's going on at the rep that we should keep our eye on. Can't Repository is can'trep.com.
Um, right now me and my sports editor, we were just working on a game plan of how we're gonna cover the USFL this year. So I'm the
Right.
guy covering USFL. We got two teams that are gonna be playing in Canton. The New Jersey Generals and the Pittsburgh Maulers. I've been there a couple practices. Today I was able to interview Reuben Foster.
Oh, yeah.
If that name sounds familiar, yeah, he's that All American Alabama player, a former first rounder. Dealt with a lot of off the field issues, dealt with injuries in the past, and he's just trying to just get back to relevancy and just show him why he was a former first round pick. So I was able to talk to him, and we're just prepping and getting ready for this coming season.
Yeah, I saw you a tweet out about that. If I knew beforehand, I would say you need to tell them to call Pittsburgh and see if they can hook you up as inside linebacker. I mean, I think he can make the team at least. He's definitely a talent.
I mean, I'm sure he probably already did. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers wasn't budget, I guess, because I'm a Dolphins fan, and we were just asking maybe we could try to get Reuben Foster, but they weren't budget. He was even living in South Florida, so he was out there. So,
well, we're the Pittsburgh Maulers. I mean, we should say, hey, you guys stick with a Pittsburgh type team. It'll be great. All right. Yeah, lots of stuff going on at Mahoney Matters. Peter, maybe we could play some journalism at school. I reported the other day we have a big Youngstown concert coming up. They usually bring a big name for outdoor concert. This year it's Kid Rock, the guy who was a rocker. I guess he's now a country guy. But Peter, I'm seeing today Kid Rock is blasting transsexuals. And he's yelling at beer companies for supporting it. And, you know, he likes guns and he's shooting at guns. You think I should do a story about that? Because, you know, he's going to be Youngstown's big performer this year. He was kind of in the news today.
I guess you can. And if you're okay with pissing off half your audience that probably feels the same way. If Kid Rock is willing to speak about it as well, I'm sure you want to go for that, or a column maybe.
Well, the tweet I would have to embed with that story is very profane. Kid Rock throws out a lot of F words. I'm not sure if they're gonna let me embed a tweet with F words being yelled in it on a family website. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. Yeah, so that's going on. Kid Rock's coming to town. Lots going on. A good column by a sports writer, Peter. He wants Cleveland to have a retractable roof. I'm not sure if that's a good idea, but hey, it was an interesting read. So check that out there too. What do you think? Should the Browns have a retractable dome on their stadium?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think they could have more events, but I think it's going to be a lot of money if you put a roof over that thing.
I think a retractable roof is the least of their worries right now, to be honest with you.
they need a little bit more talent.
No, it's not even the talent. I mean, they're still trying to figure out if they want to relocate their stadium. So
yeah.
I think a retractable roof is the least of their worries as far as stadium operation goes.
I say bring them to Richfield. Cavs used to play in Richfield. There's still a big field there. Put a stadium there. How about that? You can move the Browns out downtown and it'll be nearby. So, all right. Anything else, Pierre, before we take off for the
night? Nope. I think we're good here.
Yeah, thank you again, Pierre. And the great thing about it is we've been talking for a while. Audio sounds fine. So I'm going to get this up before anything happens to it. As always, thanks for your time, Pierre. For Pierre, this is Chris. Thanks for checking our football show. Talk to you next week. Have a good one.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Mooney. Welcome to what is our new Hope Interrupted podcast based on the work from our book, Hope Interrupted, that I co-authored with my good friend Byron McCauley.
Hey, Jennifer, I'm looking forward to this podcast as much as I was looking forward to writing this book with you. We hope to interview some high-impact folks as well as have a little fun.
We're going to cover stories of hope. To learn more about our podcast and our book, please visit www.hopeinterrupted.com.